What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Prophet Moffatt Show. Today we got Mike Stenger. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well. How are you,
I'm
Mr.
not doing as
Tennessee?
I'm not doing as good as you, living in the coolest city in the entire country. And it always cracks me up when people are like, "Screw California," or like "Crappy commie California," and then I watch your stories, and you're just like walking through like this idyllic Eden with your dog, and it's just perfect weather all the time.
Well, I want to correct you. Everyone who says California sucks, they're right. It
Yeah,
is terrible here.
yeah.
The politics suck.
The
And
people.
there's homeless. There's a lot of problems here. So don't come here. Stay far away. It's really not worth it. I just want everyone to know that it's really not worth it.
Yeah, it's hilarious to see. Like, I've been a lot of places. San Diego is the nicest city in the country, in my personal opinion. There's not even a close second.
Yeah, I've been here. January will be 10 years, and I'm from Ohio. Grew up in Ohio. Dad's side of the family's from Indiana, so I lived the Midwest life up until I was 25. So I don't miss that.
I bet. Oh
I'm,
my gosh.
I am perfectly happy here, but I get that this is not for everyone, and yeah, it's expensive as hell, and there's a lot of problems. Um, that's
Yeah, I think there's problems everywhere, though, man.
Yeah, we don't have to like everything. We don't have to agree on everything.
I love the fact that you can just hop down to Tijuana and be in like the most crazy danger zone in like 30 minutes.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
if like the thing I loved about Tijuana is you never knew, like, you could get arrested or jacked at like any time. So the level of excitement was always really, really raised a lot. I'm
You
gonna
yeah,
check
you can get into anything you can think of. Tijuana is kind of like Vegas. It's kind of like a more bootleg Vegas.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I went to MikeStenger.com, and
Is
it
that even live anymore?
no, it forwards to a Google Doc.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious why you did that.
Um that's a good question. I think it goes to it's like a simple sales letter to contact, like apply to work with me. I think that's what that is. I haven't. It's interesting. I haven't messed with my website in probably 2 years.
Really?
Yeah,
Have you ever run a Google Doc sale or a sales letter off of a Google Doc?
I have, but mostly for other people, and I love it because it's so simple. And I guess maybe that's something we could just randomly stumble on is you don't have to overthink this shit. Like you really do not have to overcomplicate this stuff. You can just if you have an idea, like you don't even and I know you do this because I'm pretty sure I bought stuff from you before that you haven't even started building it. You can just have an idea. You've got a list. You can just send it out, see if there's interest, then sell that thing, and you could sell it through fucking Google Doc. And
Totally.
once you have people interested, then you can start building out that thing. I think there's a big issue with people just really overcomplicating things and making it more difficult than it has to be. It really does not.
I was actually looking yesterday without even having the list, an idea in a totally new space. And, I'm apprehensive of spending the time to create the product and do all the things. But I was just looking to send like 100 direct mail pieces. Let's just say I was targeting like women's salons. I wasn't, but it's an easy, it's easy to get the addresses, the physical snail mail addresses of 100 salons and send them a direct mail piece. And like, if I were to be able to get 5 to 7 replies, I might know that, all right, this might have legs. And what's it cost me to contact 100 business? About $100.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It often doesn't. You don't need to have all your ducks in a row. You
Yeah.
just need like half a duck.
Yeah. Ready, fire, aim. Right.
Yeah, who wrote that book?
Good question. If only there was a way for us to find out.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh wait, I have an encyclopedia over here. I could.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine like what our grandparents like if you sat them down and showed them like what any AI could do nowadays?
It still blows my mind. I still cannot believe some of the stuff I'm able, and I know you have this experience too because you use all the AI tools help you out with copy and whatnot. I'm regularly, almost on a daily basis, blown away by some of the stuff that it's able to come up with. It's like 90% there as far as just obviously you need to be knowledgeable. It helps if you're very skilled and you kind of know how to put things together. But as far as what we're able to get now, and it's still very early stages, it's pretty pretty crazy. And
It's
like people even I think even 20 years ago, they did not see anything like this coming.
no. What's interesting, I remember when I was a kid, I used to tell my parents, I'm like, pretty soon you're going to be able to just talk to your TV and say, play season 7, Seinfeld, episode 4, and it'll play it. And they were like, yeah, right. That'll never happen. I remember we had just gotten a VCR for Christmas. But I had that foresight as a kid. And it's wild. And I think what's even going to be more wild is the rapid increase in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
It's not going to look everything's going to look so much different. And being a Southern California guy, I actually think people are going to love it because I don't think like traffic is going to be a, a, an issue anymore. I think it's actually going to be, and it already is. So many of us use our Google Maps on our phones, and it'll redirect us where there's a wreck, or if they see a shorter path, they'll redirect us. That's all AI. But I think in the future, it's going to get even better. More people are going to be reliant and on these kind of things, and or self-driving cars, and also so many of us, thanks to COVID, have gotten used to buying online, and so many of us already do Prime or Amazon.
Yeah.
But I think the days of going grocery shopping and going off to do random errands are diminishing, and they will continue to the point that it's going to take a ton of cars off the street. Robots will deliver your groceries, and so it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, we're in kind of a a productivity precipice, if you will. With just, I mean, we're already pretty much at the point where you have an assistant available at your service 24/7, 365, never gets tired. I mean, some of the AI agents out there are they're doing all these things that you would typically just, a couple years ago, a few years ago, you'd have to pay a VA to get this stuff done. And you can just, yeah, you can just have this software do all these tasks and things for you for literal pennies on the dollar.
Do you ever put something into AI, and as you're pushing the button, like you're almost sitting there scared, like, oh, I can't believe I asked him this, or like, and then it gives the answer, and you almost feel like you got away with a crime or something, or like,
Yeah, a little bit of that. Also, I don't know, maybe I'm weird about it, but I also just worried about sharing too much information with AI because I mean, like, I know it's at least with OpenAI, ChatGPT, I know they're very much like Google, like they're keeping data on everybody and everything, and I know they're I saw a really good video the other day, basically that their whole plan, because they're launching all these APIs, their plan is basically to be the operating system. So they're trying to build this operating system around AI, and so they have their own. They're doing stuff with search engine, so they're playing around with replacing Google, but basically they're going to become they're trying to become the de facto AI operating system across everything.
Yeah, makes sense. Have you seen the trend going around recently where you ask Chat GPT um, what it thinks about you? It says like from your previous knowledge, you're like, what do you know about me? And then it just comes back for most people, just this glowing praise, like, oh, you're a humanitarian on the level of Gandhi.
Yeah, mine. So what's the thing with me is I actually don't use ChatGPT that much. I mainly use it for more of the task heavy stuff, like breaking down
Yeah,
documents and stuff like that. I asked it something, and it just basically told me my name. I was writing an email about Instagram ad best practices, business. It didn't really have much information on me because I had
gotcha.
given it that
I know that you're more of a Claude heavy user than
yeah.
ChatGPT, as am I. It's interesting because I will often take something from ChatGPT and then I'll run it to Claude, have Claude rewrite it. I'll run it back over to ChatGPT, have Joe Sugarman GPT rewrite it, have Eugene Schwartz rewrite Sugarman, send it back to Claude. And then I'm like
Okay.
9 layers deep, and I got this whole new thing that looks similar to the very, but I mean, it takes on a life of its own. And I've found just really experimenting, like the more creative you can be, like I encourage people, like, sit down with ChatGPT and like get in a fight with it, like, like get in an argument with it, or like, you know, it has morals and stuff too, because like ask it to plot a prison escape with you. Like, how would you get out? And it's interesting just to see the rabbit hole it might take you down. And have you done anything weird with ChatGPT or
Not.
fun?
I mean, not really. I mean, so I I'm kind of obsessed with this marketing stuff. So I would say 95% of the stuff I'm doing with AI, it's all marketing related. So it's related to strategy, copy, marketing related tasks. And then there is some stuff like just trying to poke holes in the simulation, like the probability of this being a simulation. And I had a thought recently, uh, maybe it wasn't recently, it was a while back about, and mind you, I was not under the influence of anything, but I got thinking because these AI detection tools, if you put in excerpts from the Bible, it'll say most of it is AI generated. Now, we all know that these AI detection tools, they give a lot of false positives, but I had an idea, what if it is actually AI generated, because this idea of God is AI. It's a computer simulation, and it's created all of this. So that's probably some of the weird stuff I've gotten into. Just
I've
questioning
asked
existence and what we perceive to be reality.
I've asked it to do crazy things. Like, I'm like, can you break down Stairway to Heaven for me, and like verse by verse, chord by chord? Can you give me instructed details on how to play it? And some of the things that come back just blow me away. I want you to do me a favor, Mike, because
Yeah.
my kiddo is going nuts upstairs on the floor. I want you just to talk to everybody and give them a little bit of your background and how you got to know me, and just take over the show for a sec. All right.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, no pressure. So yeah, I've known Jason for a long time. It might show his age a little bit, but I found out about Jason when I was still in high school. So this was like 2005, 2006. I was kind of a misfit in school. I barely made it through. I was reading self-improvement and business and marketing books when I was a sophomore in high school. I was kind of clocked out of the whole educational system, and somehow, some way, I ended up going down this rabbit hole of internet marketing. So that's how I found out about Jason. I found out about Frank, Ryan Dice, who I work with, and a bunch of these old school internet marketing guys. And so I've been kind of tapped into this space for a pretty long time. And about 10 years ago, I moved to San Diego, and that's around the time I went kind of full force into copywriting. Um, First started just doing more content based stuff, and then being that I've been familiar with internet marketing for a while, I learned about Gary Halbert, all those people, and naturally went more into the direct response side, and I've been doing that for about 9 years now, full time, working with like just all sorts of different people from experts, thought leaders, um, marketing folks, e-commerce, you name it, financial stuff like that.
What do you
Yeah.
think you would be doing with your life
Oh
right
gosh.
now if you did not ever stumble across like marketing or copywriting?
I've thought about this. To be totally honest, and not to go dark, but I feel like if I hadn't discovered this and I hadn't gotten out of Ohio, I probably wouldn't be alive right now, honestly. Um, like have a whole background with depression. I used to weigh 320 pounds. And at least for me, learning marketing, being able to just not just sell stuff, but sell yourself. I think if it weren't for that, I honestly have no idea what I would have gotten into. Because like I was sharing with people when you were away, like I was a misfit in high school. Like I didn't really have a whole lot going on. I barely even got my diploma. So yeah, I really do not know.
Yeah, I one of the things I really like about you and just the content that you put out there a lot is that you are open to sharing, you know, about depression or about um, your weight loss journey. And I think that's important for people to be able to see that. And I think what's also important, though, is for people to see kind of like the comeback because it's very easy for people to get trapped into the woe is me type of content
Oh yeah.
because people can feed into that and give them, you know, sympathy or likes or attention, and you can get a lot of those things, but very rarely does any of it ever make any money, and it really doesn't motivate other people to get out of it. But you have always had a real humanizing way of kind of talking about your struggles, whether they were past or even present, and you know, being optimistic about getting through them and kind of sharing, you know, that hey, yeah, things are getting better, and I think that's really helpful for people to see.
Yeah, I mean, we all know it being in social media. There's so much smoke and mirrors. I mean, and you and I both know a lot of really successful people, and there are people who you think they're a fucking top of the world, and like these people, they're this close to just jumping off a building,
Yeah,
and everything seems great. So I mean, I've always just been I've always just been a pretty straightforward person, and I've always been kind of an open book and open to sharing that stuff because I know what's really going on behind the scenes, and I know that there's a lot of people really struggling. And to be totally honest with you, I can be a bit of an overshare. I definitely haven't been very strategic about it. I mean, some of my posts that I've gotten the most engagement and people sharing and connecting with me have been me just completely like about to lose it.
yeah.
Fortunately, in the past year, things have been really good, legitimately good. I've had a complete 180 as far as business and stuff goes. And did have a bit of a relationship update, but that's all been very positive. I forget where I was going there.
Well, I think we are just talking about, you know, just the complexities and the weirdness of social media and our whole lives being broadcasted. And, you know, the word authenticity comes up a lot, you know, in a lot of inauthentic ways, you know, as people are constantly posturing and trying to be things that maybe they're not. And, you know, I've never got that vibe from you. And I probably know you better than most people just see you on the internet. Um, but yeah, it's just I think you do. I think you do social media right. I mean, you don't have a huge following. It's not like you're not playing some guru game. You're just being you. And I find actually the best stuff you do is your stories. And what I really like is you walking with your dog Zoe and
That
just
that's like 90%.
yeah. And
I just
so
have shit come to me while we're walking, and I'm like, oh, let's it's, yeah.
does having a Siberian Husky help you lose weight?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can't. I mean, we have to walk every day. It's a
Yeah.
non-negotiable. If not, she's just absolutely insane at night. Yeah, and she's 9. She's 9 now, and
Oh wow.
she still has a lot of energy. So, I mean, hopefully, she's got a few more good years with us. But yeah, gotta move. There's no way around it.
Yeah. So I'm curious who's the biggest influence on you as far as copywriters? Who do you think has influenced you the most in your life?
I mean, I could say Gary Halbert. I mean, but that's pretty cliche. I think the one for me would probably be Clayton Makepeace. So when I was kind of learning about copywriting, but even before I discovered Gary's stuff and went down that whole rabbit hole and read all the newsletters and all of his sales letters, all that stuff. So back in the day, and I've talked about this before, Clayton, he had this blog called like the Total Package, something like that. I mean, the value he was giving out, like insane. Like
I have every single one of those posts saved in a PDF.
he was giving out so much value, and just I think the big thing for me learning from him, reading his stuff, is like his ability to like get at emotion and like really stir up emotion. And I didn't even know about direct response then when I was reading his stuff and kind of learning some of his stuff. And I think that there was a seed in the back of my mind that eventually led me down that path.
Yeah,
Which
I remember when I first landed on Gary Halbert's website. I had been selling stuff on Craigslist and eBay and flipping things for like a year. It never occurred to me that I could go to Google and type in like how to make money on the internet. I just didn't know it was a thing. And it's like I was already doing it, right?
yeah.
So I didn't know that I needed help. I'm like, I just made $80 flipping that couch. Like, how are you going to tell me how to make money? I'm crushing it.
Is
I,
it isn't it funny all like these little things that we do, and at the time we have no idea where it's going to take us. We have no idea maybe what we're doing at the time.
no.
It's
So
these little actions that just end up making just a huge impact.
yeah, so I came across this forum called the Self Starters Weekly Tips, run by a woman named Lynn Terry,
Oh,
and
yeah. Yeah.
and fantastic. My neighbor is mowing his lawn now, but
Can barely hear it.
um, but from inside of her forum, there was a link to Gary's newsletters, and I started going and reading them, and I didn't understand what I was reading.
Yeah.
But as I was reading them, I would read them kind of like almost like a Hemingway novel. I was like, I found my people. I love this, and I would read the next one and the next one, and I didn't get it at all. And then I watched a video that he had did, or an interview or something with a kid named Jason Cox, and he was like a 15-year-old kid at the time, and they did a JV, and I was like, I watched the video 3 times in a row, and I still didn't understand what a JV or a joint venture was,
Mhm.
but I still something triggered me. I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be,
Mm.
and it was wild. Funny you bring up Clayton Makepeace because my wife was asking me some advice on a sales letter she's about to publish, and I looked at her bullets, and I'm like, okay, these are good, but you could definitely beef them up. And I sent
Clayton,
her
yeah,
I sent her the Screaming Eagle bullet report, which is like
yeah.
the greatest.
I mean, he has some of the best bullets.
So good.
Yeah, and I think for me, what really drew me so much to direct response is the psychological element. Like I've gone through my whole self improvement journey, and so I've always been fascinated with what makes people tick and what influences them to do what they do or take action. So that piece attached with the being able to come up with something, the creativity of it is what caused kind of my obsession, and that obsession's still going now.
Yeah. Do you find, I don't know if you talk about your existing gig or not publicly, but I know that you've got a solid, like, steady gig with a company. Do
Yeah.
you find that, do you like that better than working with client after client after client, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've had, and I'm fine with it now. But you know, I have had people behind the scenes like, "Hey, you're obviously really talented. Like, why don't you just go off on your own, do your own thing, get like a few partners, something like that." And you know, what I will say is, I mean, for me, having it's not even a 9 to 5, really. For me, I just like the idea of essentially going all in with one company and just spending most of my time with that. And I don't know, I don't know about you, but like I don't need a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, I still have the freedom to take on stuff outside of that. And I do projects outside of that. But I like being able to go all in with the company, and also I like being working around a team. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times, one of the things that kind of sucked when I was on my own. I mean, obviously, I did struggle there for a while with getting clients, posts. You know, I was very clear about that. Um, it can get kind of lonely,
Yeah.
and I like being I like I'm a pretty social person, so I like being in a team, and I just like working with other people, and I don't have like these huge like, oh, I want to make $1 million a month type goals.
Yeah.
And also just at least with my current gig now that I've had this year, I mean I've followed. So let everyone know I manage the email marketing. I head up the email marketing for digital marketer. Um, I've known about Ryan probably same time I found out about you, like 2005, 2006, and I just love working with him,
Yeah. I think,
and I
dude,
love working with that whole team.
yeah,
Like,
you're stoked. You're super lucky because, I mean, they sell really great material and there's great people there.
yeah,
And
I'm around a lot of high performers, and
you
they've done
know,
a really. And I'm not just saying this because I work with them and they
yeah,
believe
yeah,
me, but like I work with like really solid people, and the way they run their companies is really good. I mean, I've been working with them since April, and there has been there's no micromanaging. It's all like, hey, we need to do this, we need to get this done, and giving people like letting them do what they do best and get that stuff
yeah.
done. And then also just running with ideas. Like if I come up with an idea, like I can just we can just test it and we can just get it out there.
I've
I
always
have to jump through
enjoyed.
all these hoops, which I've hated working in the with some companies in the past where you've got to like run stuff up the flagpole. You know, more corporate types. Like
Yeah,
uh,
Ryan's super receptive to ideas,
yeah,
and I love it because I would assume he's more of an implementer. Because I remember, like, being in a room when Perry used to be there with him, like being with Perry and Ryan, and there was just this crazy dynamic where, for me, being an idea guy, it's like they would just spew out of me, and I loved being around that. You said you enjoyed working in that team environment, and often I think a lot of copywriters feel this, where it can get a little lonely doing the solo thing. And I've been experimenting with the idea lately of doing co-writes on copy, which isn't something I've ever heard anyone do. And the idea came because I'm in Nashville, which is considered song town or music city. And this whole city has like thousands of songwriters, and they come and they like literally check in like a 9 to 5 and write songs together, groups of five, 4 or 5 people. And I started asking myself, I wonder what it would look like to co-write a sales letter with somebody. Um,
Mm.
like what if me and you, hopped onto Zoom, or and we were just going over a Google Doc together. Like, how do you think that would work?
I haven't necessarily done that, but I'm down to do that. That sounds like it could be fun.
I think the idea, the thinking behind, like, oh, I have writer's block, or um, you
It,
know,
is there really writer's block though, or is
for
there
some people, of course there is, but I mean, I don't know that's writer's block. I think they just live very uncreative lives, and or they don't know how. I feel like they just kind of have this weird duct tape over their mouth, because if you allow yourself to just do gibberish, like, did you ever do a creative writing class in school? And if you couldn't think of something, you just had to keep writing blah, blah, blah until
right?
something came. And then you're talking about that yellow duck that's floating down the river. And I wonder where that duck came, pointless. But, a lot of the content I create is pointless, but it eventually gets me somewhere.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're co writing with somebody, I just feel like you have an accountability partner, and you're probably more likely to get something done at the end of the day, rather than left to your own devices. And
That's the big thing, right? The accountability.
yeah,
Because when we are left to our own devices,
yeah,
I
you're
know
like,
I
let's
know
see
you're
what
guilty.
CNN's saying, let's see what Fox is saying. And then it's like, that's me. I mean, I'm like, I got 8 ideas at once, and I'm trying to nuke them constantly.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm like, I don't even know that dual monitors, like I got another monitor, I don't know that that's good for me. It's like more stuff. I don't even, this is a brilliant idea. What if your computer didn't have tabs? It only had a tab.
Uh, yeah, no. No. I mean, I get enough done, but I still feel like I don't get enough done even having all these tabs.
I bet you a singular tab browser would increase productivity so much for
I
people.
mean, you'd have to focus, right? You'd have no option. Like, you have one tab, you gotta make it count.
It'd be interesting if you could set some parameters too, like you're on a tab, you have a task, and you can't leave the tab until you finish the task. It won't open a new window.
I feel like there's gotta be some. I mean, I know they have stuff like where, you're blocked out of accessing certain apps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually created a program called PediaShield with a guy, and we never ended up finishing it. But it was a brilliant idea, and I wish we would have gone ahead with it. But by default, it was so simple too. But by default, it was for parents that wanted to monitor their kids, what they're seeing online. So by default, it just blocked everything 100%. And then what it would do is, like, you would give permissions for which site they could go on. So, like, oh, ABC Mouse or Disney or whatnot. So there was
Mhm.
really only like 8 or 9 sites that your kids could go on. It was brilliant. It was super simple. And I mean, that's the kind of company, gosh, if we could have got a subscription base going, we could have sold that thing.
Yeah, yeah. You could
Yeah.
have been the next John McAfee.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to go crazy like McAfee.
Do you think he got murdered?
I was just trying to say, like, didn't he died recently, right?
Yeah, I wasn't recently, but it was, yeah, it was under suspicious,
Do
circumstances.
they actually have his body?
I don't know.
He's probably like living in New Guinea, like living with the tribe or
I
something.
mean, he was batshit insane.
Yeah.
But supposedly he had, the rumor, conspiracy, whatever you wanna call it, is he had all this information on like top government officials, and that
That's,
it was a hit, basically.
oh, well,
One of
yeah.
those.
I watched a documentary on him.
Mm,
It's hard to know.
mm,
And one thing that I found too, I don't like to really actually have opinions, maybe opinions, okay, but beliefs about things, particularly when there's no way for me to really know. And I feel like we're in this time where everyone's got to be kind of like dig their heels in the sand and like have an opinion on this person or this topic.
Here's the thing, you don't.
You really don't.
You don't have to have opinion on every single thing. Yeah, yeah, you see it, I see it. People, every like event, everything that happens, people have to write a long diatribe about it, and it's like you don't have to get involved. Like
Yeah, or could do you think
honestly, your opinion doesn't matter on this subject.
or maybe do you think you could wait 48 hours or 72 hours just for some facts to come about or
No, no, we got to write about it, and we got to transition into our offer. We got to somehow slide in our shit and make ourselves, a part of this
or
topic.
to me the funniest is just the instant conspiracy. Anytime something happens, it's just like, oh, it was this boogeyman.
Yeah, but yeah, the truth is stranger than fiction. I mean, I'm pretty open minded about everything. I mean, the stuff that is real, you wouldn't think it's real, and then
it's
yeah,
it's interesting as copywriters, and our job is to persuade people to do things. um a lot of people sometimes can think, gosh, it's so hard to do what we do. And I'm like, well, look at the batshit crazy stuff people are willing to believe already. I'm like, if they're willing to believe that, I promise you, it's not that hard to convince somebody to believe what you're selling them can help them in their life.
I mean, especially with the AI tools we have now, there is literally no excuse. There's zero excuse.
Except, I know you have to agree with me too. For someone who doesn't have a foundational understanding of what good copy is, they make themselves look like buffoons using the AI.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't just take what it spits out and just use that completely. Like, you're right, you have to understand the flow, you have to understand, all the different elements. Yeah.
If all somebody did was just used Claude over GPT, Chat GPT, they could save themselves about 80% of the humiliation.
They could.
But yeah.
What yeah, I mean, you know how much I love Claude.
Yeah.
I would literally pay like $1,000 a month or more for
Yeah.
Claude.
The fact that I don't know what it costs, $20 or something. Chat GPT is $20 or whatever.
It's nuts.
It's it's super nuts.
Mhm.
Um, you know, a lot of people freak out about losing their jobs, or I'm like, yeah,
There is gonna be some of
and
that.
yeah, it already has. I mean, there's no reason for me to hire a lot of people for a lot of things anymore. I do think that it's going to create more jobs in the future, different jobs. I also do think that it's going to put so many people out of business, um, but will also create such an abundance that we will all want universal basic income for everybody, which is kind of a weird hotbed topic, especially if, like Republican thing, like, oh, you need to work for your money. I guarantee Republicans are going to be begging to give everybody $3,000 a month.
I mean, no matter which side you look at, they all at some point they will change their views,
Yeah.
and a lot of times it'll complete flip flop. It just takes time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But there's just going to be a lot of jobs that aren't going to be available, and there's going to be a lot of people. This is kind of a warning for anyone watching too. It's like we're still really early on in the AI stuff, but in 5 years from now, if you're not caught up, you're going to be so far behind the eight ball on it. But I feel like if you learn what's going on now, that you'll still be on the forefront of it, that you'll be very well positioned to use it however it is you end up using it. And it doesn't have to be copywriting or even marketing per se. I mean, maybe you have an interior design business. I've already seen it too. Like nowadays they're just doing like virtual sets. Like when they're selling a house, they don't even bring in the designers anymore and stage them. They just do virtual staging.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool, but I think it also kind of lets people down because they see how it could look, and then they walk in and there's nothing there, and it looks dumpy.
Yeah. And you know, that reminds me too, I see a lot of, I've been seeing lately, like, a lot of images of, you know, like, these cool ass houses or things, and it's all AI generated, but people, it's so good, people don't realize it's AI. So, and just, you know, I know this is completely off topic, but, like, we're at the stage now where anything you see, photos, videos online, you cannot trust. You
Totally.
have to be skeptical of everything now.
Everything. Which
Like,
is why I've been saying lately, like, authentication tools are going to be so huge. I mean, already it's already such a pain in the butt, like two factoring on your phone and um oh my gosh. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because to prove who you are pretty soon, you're going to either need to like do some kind of a thumbprint, a retina scan, I guess, which they already have those things. I mean, your phone already recognizes you when you look at it, logs right into your bank. Um, it's going to encroach into our lives in such a crazy way that I don't know. I feel like Amish registrations are going to like go up big time in about five
you
years.
know, that reminds me of something I have been thinking about. I think there is gonna be, with just this crazy rise of technology and AI, I think we are gonna start to see these kind of off-grid communities. I think there's gonna be like a strong one
Big time.
desire for these communities that aren't tapped into all this technology.
So
We
this is a
have a
huge.
little of that now, but it's gonna
So this is the
really
Prophet
take off.
Moffatt show, and I suck at keeping secrets about my money making ideas. And so, if somebody wants to get filthy rich, even now and in the near future, you can just like run off grid retreats, get a freaking like piece of land in Montana, get a bunch of yurts, make them luxury, but just get rid of the electricity, get rid of the phones, bring a massage therapist, bring in a 5-star like chef to deliver them some food. But people will pay 400 or 500 bucks a night to sleep in a tent. I guarantee you.
Yeah, so, um my ex, she was, growing up, she went to this horse ranch for girls, and she was a counselor there after high school, all that stuff. So she's been involved with it, was involved with it for a long time, and it's up in just in the mountains in Georgia. But it's beautiful. But they make a lot of money in the off season from people who just want to come out there and just get away from everything, away from technology, and just be off, kind of off the grid
Yeah.
days in the mountains. And that's how they make a good portion of their income now. It's not just off of horses. So I mean, there's a strong need for that. And I mean, all of us. I mean, you're in Tennessee. I mean, you've always been close to nature. You're in Hawaii. You're in San Diego. Like, it's important to get away from this stuff. Like,
I
it's
don't think a lot of I think a lot of people don't though. I mean, I bet
no,
you
no, no. I mean, it's
I,
addicting.
I bet you so many people are locked into their 9 to 5 grind, cul-de-sac, hit the bar after work.
Yeah.
Maybe they do the one camping trip and Memorial Day, and they got their freaking generator so they can see the football game. It's like I don't think most people really detach and get out into nature as much as they should.
Yeah, as much as I love technology and as much as it improves and enhances my life and just makes me more effective and just more proficient at what I do, like, I, it's, if it weren't for nature, I wouldn't be as good and as creative as I am, because it's for me, like, those long walks where I'm like posting stories, like, it's that stuff that helps me be more creative and helps me be more tapped into whatever this, I guess we're kind of getting hippy dip here, but whatever that force is that allows you to do what it is you do. I mean, back in June, we did this epic road trip up to the redwoods, And I don't know what it is, but ever since we got back, I've just felt more connected with whatever that thing is. And I really feel it's just not it's not natural for us to be tapped into this stuff all the time. It's good to get out in
Yeah.
nature.
Lee asked a question here. He said, "I have Chat GPT 4.0. Why is Claude better? I'll switch if it is." I would tell you, Lee, that you don't switch. You use both. I mean, if you're really in this game for success, you use both because ChatGPT does things that Claude doesn't. For instance, you can't just take a link and say, "Hey, Claude, go search this web page." ChatGPT can do that. So they both have pros and cons. I want to go back to when you're walking on a trail or in the redwoods or something, and you have a brilliant idea pop up. Like, how do you capture? Do you do anything to capture that idea? Because you know it's gone in 5 minutes if you
Voice to text.
voice to text.
I use and I've used this even when I was on on iPhone. I just have Google Keep, which is like just a note taking app. I just throw stuff in there. I'll flesh out. I'll add a little bit of details, so it's not one of those situations where I'll look at it later and be like, "What the fuck is this?" Um, so that's what I do. Just put it, get in and get back out.
I always think it's funny because you'll get this too because you've done a little bit of stand up comedy. It's funny when I come up with a premise or a joke. It might be late at night, and I go into my notes and I write it out. And maybe I'm a little intoxicated when I wrote the joke or stuff, and then I come back to it the next day, and I'm like, there is nothing funny about how.
No, and see that can sometimes be the issue with partaking in certain substances that enhance your state of mind. When you're in that state of mind, it's like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And then when that starts to wear off and you look at it later, you're like, I don't know about that. I don't know if that idea was so hot.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding, no kidding, man. I'm excited to get back to Oregon
No.
where they here you know riding dirty is still a thing, like in most places in the United States, marijuana is a fairly normal thing.
Yeah.
Man, not in the South, man. You can still catch a felony
Mm.
here. And so um not that, and I'm actually it's almost kind of a thing in my past. I grew up my whole life being a daily smoker, and I'm not anymore as much. But boy, it's a lot of anxiety if you just worry like, oh, did I leave something in my pocket? Like,
Yeah, no, it's not worth the anxiety. And being under the influence, it amplifies that.
oh my gosh, dude. It's weird. Like coming to the South is almost like going back to when I was a kid, freaking like Duke boys, Roscoe's chasing me or something. And I'm like, I do not like that feeling at all.
I will say, even being out here in Southern California for almost 10 years, I'm still not totally used to just how relaxed they are when it comes to weed. Like, I mean, you go anywhere and people are just out smoking, and it still from time to time catches me off guard because I'm just not used to that. It was the complete opposite growing up.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to. I mean, most people don't realize unless they have dispensaries in their neighborhood or and been in them. It's really no different than going into 7-Eleven and getting a Slurpee, except for
Mm,
you got to, maybe
yeah,
you got to show your ID. So it's like buying a bottle of beer.
yeah.
It's pretty wild.
So I don't think I did, but I wanted to congratulate you on a kid on the way.
Oh yeah,
How
yeah.
how 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 do you? I mean, if you're comfortable sharing it, I guess it's too late. I'm putting you on the spot. How are you dealing with that? Like, how are you feeling about the idea of bringing a child into this
It
world?
it doesn't seem all that real
Yeah.
yet. It's like almost 3 months, so it's getting realer by the day. We just had a pod delivered this morning to, because we're moving. So Um, so it's getting realer and realer by the day. I mean, it's obviously really real when I hear my wife sick every morning. She's having bad morning sickness all the
Oh
time.
yeah.
So that sucks. It was interesting too that, Lindsay and I have been together for almost 10 years. And, we've never used birth control for 10 years ever at all. And,
Yeah.
and it was only, I'm also kind of smart about time and knowing
Yeah, well, and I don't think a lot of men, maybe even women know this, but there's only certain
days you can get
of the
prego.
month. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I always but it was interesting that when I finally had this big epiphany that I was ready to have a child, I'm about to turn 50 years old. Um, so then it's like, can I even have a child? Do I even got any swimmers left
Yeah.
that are going to make it? And then, I don't drink alcohol, maybe like a beer or two a month. So I've been drinking these, and I've been trying to get off of a lot of sugar drinks. So I've been drinking this root beer stevia drink, and of course we look at the stats and it's like, oh, drinking stevia reduces your sperm count by so much or whatever. And I'm like,
There's always something.
always. I'm like, it's gonna take
Everything
you
everything's bad for you.
every. So, and I was just trying to tell my lady, like, look, my swimmers are good. I was like, open the gates and it's just going to work. And then it worked the first month.
Yeah, that's
10,
wild.
10 years, 10
Yeah.
years of like,
Mhm.
you know, the goalie being pulled the whole time, you know, and yeah, it was crazy. So I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited to maybe mature a little bit, not too
You don't
much.
wanna mature too much
I
because then
know.
you get too serious and then, yeah, yuck.
I know. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. You know, I'm irresponsible in a lot of ways, and I'm excited to not be that, and just to kind of think not only just for my kid, but just being 50, and I'm 15 years older than Lindsay too. So losing my mom recently, makes me just start to think of the backside of my life, and it's like, all
Yeah.
right, well, how do I want that to look? And the thing that I don't want too is I don't want to get all right 50 and then it's like a downhill slope. It's like, all right, part of the thing I loved about being in Maui is I hung out with a lot of 60 and 70-year-old people who were
Living like, yeah, 25.
having the time of their lives. They're out surfing every morning, and their best years were in the second half of their life. And so for me, I really want that. And I'm like you. I've never aspired to be like filthy rich. It's always been easy for me to make money. It's been easy for me to sustain a lifestyle that I found was perfect for me. But I'll probably want to ramp that up a little bit more.
Yeah,
And so, hence why I'm even doing this show. It's like just to kind of get in the mood to do it.
get in the flow,
It
yeah.
was nice yesterday. I did a show with Kevin Nations, and just wang it. And then, um, I went a little bit later and walked into my Stripe and saw it. I made $3,500. I'm like, well, hell, I'll do that every day. Then,
Yeah, and no plan, like, you weren't expecting anything from that, you just, I'm just getting together with someone, I'm just putting this out there, and we'll just see what
yeah,
happens, yeah.
yeah. It helped that Kevin gave me a good assist and was propping me up.
Oh, yeah, Kevin's brilliant. I've never met Kevin in person, but I've heard so many great things about him from people who've worked with him, who've been, he's, been clients of his, and so it was cool to tune in yesterday and, hear him chat.
Yeah, man. So about to wrap this baby up. We've been here for
Yeah.
54 minutes. What do you see? What do you see for yourself here for the rest of the year? And are you? if somebody did want to work with you, or do you have that availability? Are you looking for that? Do you want that?
I do. You know, I'm definitely, and we've talked about this. I'm more interested in strategic partnerships. So
Hmm.
not just kind of one-off projects. I ideally am, looking for someone I can partner with on something. And my specialty is really where I shine is on the email side.
Yeah. So
So,
I actually just put your website down below there, which I mentioned earlier in the show. Actually redirects to a Google Doc that kind of describes exactly what you were saying. So
yeah, but you can fill out the very short form there, and also you can just message me on here on the Facebooks.
well, cool, man. I'm soon to be a West Coast guy, and I plan on building out a surf van. And
You need
I
to come to San Diego at some point.
I
Yeah, we
plan
should.
on it. I got dozens of friends that are eager to see me, and me eager to see that. So
Yeah.
it's definitely in the cards. So um, yeah, look forward to it. We actually when we met actually at what was it, Universal Studios? That was
Yeah,
the
that was
first
the
time.
first time. That was the first time we hung out
Oh
in person.
wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Mhm. Yeah, it's weird, right? Because it seems like you know someone because you've been friends online for so long. But yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're just hanging out
Yeah,
randomly at Universal Studios at the same on the same day.
I think I'm gonna do some real like in person things when I get back to Portland, just because I'm so already well ingrained in that city and I have a network, and so I'm thinking about maybe opening some type of like entrepreneur center or something where I can host meetups or um, I don't know, just something to get around people again here because like in Tennessee, yeah, I don't really have many entrepreneur friends here. I have a bunch of musician friends,
Yeah. I mean,
but
I don't know about you, but and I know we need to wrap up. I'm kind of a introverted extrovert, so I kind of have to force myself to get out of this fucking orange office and be around people and be around
totally,
other marketers. So I totally get that.
yeah. All right, Mike, it's good chatting with you, buddy. Good catching up. Look forward to seeing you in person, and I look forward to seeing more of you and your dog walking around in my favorite city.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Hope everyone has